Alright, welcome back to Pokepedia, entry number 9, Ekans and Arbok. Remember to like if you like and subscribe down below for more videos. Alright, for the schedule, as always, look at the basics and stats of our Pokemon of choice of Ekans and Arbok, battling and killing Ekans and Arbok, leveling an Ekans and evolving it into an Arbok, tips and tricks for both Pokemon, and biomes in which both Pokemon would be found in. Alright, so always, let's look at our Ekans, our basic evolution Pokemon. It is the number 23 on the Pokédex. Evolution is basic, as always. Evolves into Arbok. It's stage 1. Its type is poison. Phenotype is snake. Height is 6 feet 7 inches with a weight of 12.2 pounds. Its role is consumer and type is carnivore, meaning it eats other Pokemon, mostly smaller rodents and smaller meaty Pokemon, basically so non-plants, just other consumers, smaller consumers, but usually rodents. Its stat block in the Pokédex, as its base stats, it has an HP score of 3, attack score of 4, defense and speed score of 3 each, and special attack and defense scores of 4. Of course, when you're making a survival game, you're going to need more advanced stats than just the base stats you can find on the Pokédex. So if we've expanded out these stats a little bit to have Ekans have a health point of 90, stamina 160, food 400, speed 9 miles per hour, an attack of 24 base, a defense of 0 to 20%, a special attack of 40, and special defense of 0 to 40%. Just giving it some advanced stats because we are making a survival game, and if you're going to make Pokemon in a survival game, they need to have more than just 3 HP and an attack of 4. So of course, when battling and killing with an Ekans, since Ekans and Arbok are both carnivores, they are optional kill Pokemon. As optional kill Pokemon are specifically pretty much carnivores at this point, you can throw them with your right to battle. You throw them with your right hand to battle, throw their Pokeball into battle, and they'll battle the Pokemon. But you can also throw with your left hand to set them to kill. So instead of battling the Pokemon, if you throw with your left hand, they will come out of the Pokeball and try to kill nearby Pokemon that they can take. Of course, an Ekan's diet is meat because it is a carnivore. So feed it meat pieces to feed it. Of course, in the killing process, if you do kill an Ekans in the wild, they will have the following loot options of dropping spoiled meat times 2 and 4, so 2 to 4 pieces of spoiled meat, and a bone. If you kill an Arbok in the wild, you will either get 3 to 6 pieces of spoiled meat, 1 to 2 bones, and a shell fragment that can be used to make armor, so do keep that in mind when killing either an Ekans or an Arbok in the wild. So of course, leveling and evolving in Ekans, you can gain XP points from winning battles, healing a Pokemon with items, and mating and breeding Pokemon. Leveling up includes when you level up a Pokemon, let's say from level 2 to 3, its health, attack, and defense, and stamina all upgrade, and its XP bar increases by another percentage, making it so that level 4 is harder to achieve than at level 2 to 3. Every 3 to 7 levels, a new move is able to be learned, and every 5 levels, a special attack and defense are able to be upgraded. And of course, evolution. As a Pokemon game, this game would also include an evolution factor, so a level 50 to 70 Ekans would evolve into an Arbok. When an evolution between these two Pokemon evolution stages takes place, all stats except for speed increase by ×2, so all stats double, and a new move is guaranteed to be able to be learned. Of course, there are some tips and tricks for each of these Pokemon. So first of all, both Pokemons of Ekans and Arbok have a passive called Intimidate. This lowers the attack of an opponent Pokemon by 1 stage, meaning that the attack number will be halved. Since each stage is an evolution, where becoming a new evolution means a ×2 stat increase, if you're going to lower the attack of an opponent by 1 stage, this means that the damage would go down by 50%, because that'd be the opposite of ×2. Now, of course, if this is already a basic evolution Pokemon, the damage is already just going to be halved because there is no stage below basic, but it still needs to get lowered because of the Intimidate would make no sense if it's only effective against stage 1 and stage 2 Pokemon. And then Scary Snake. Ekans and Arbok both have Intimidate. They also repel wild creatures in the Pokemon. in the Pokemon world from attacking you for up to 15 seconds with a 10-second cooldown. What this means is if you are with an Ekans and an Arbok, and you deploy them into the wild, other wild Pokemon will just not attack you. Now, of course, if you set them to passive, they'll just stroll around and not attack anything. And of course, if any wild Pokemon, let's say a Charizard comes up and approaches you, that Charizard will just walk away and not attack any of your Ekans or Arbok unless they attack first, because using that Intimidate buffer, they are able to repel other wild Pokemon for attacking you for 15 seconds per use. Now, of course, there's a 10-second cooldown, so do be wary about that. Now, of course, there's some tricks with both of these Pokemon. Shed Skin is a ability usable by both Ekans and Arbok. This allows your Pokemon to cleanse themselves of poison, burn, frozen, and sleep effects. So basically, if they have either of those four, they can just use Shed Skin to just, get rid of those effects. They also have something called Double Pain, which is Arbok specifically. Arbok's Intimidate passive effects multiple enemies when in a battle against multiple opponents. So let's say you're in a 2v2 situation when you're going up against two opponents on one side. Now, Arbok's Intimidate usually just works against one opponent, but since he has two opponents in this battle, it will work against both of them. So basically, his Intimidate will increase doubly because you'll be against two opponents and they'll both be intimidated, which means both their damages will be halved. So that is double pain for Arbok specifically. Ekans Intimidate does not do this, but Arbok's does. So Ekans will only target one Pokemon, specifically the one that you've been attacking with Ekans, while Arbok's Intimidate goes against all battle opponents. And then number 3 is another ability you can use. This allows your Pokemon to disable their opponent from you consuming berries during the battle. This is usable for both Ekans and Arbok. Essentially just means that if your Pokemon opponent tries to consume berries to up their damage or gain health, they cannot consume berries the entire battle. So that just basically removes an entire way in which you can heal and upgrade your opponent. I said that incorrectly. Basically, it disables your opponent from being able to upgrade or heal themselves in a battle with Ekans or Arbok. So of course the last thing we're going to look at is Ekans spawns as well as Arbok spawns in the wild. Now of course spawn rates have always have been color coded, with blue standing for guaranteed, green very likely to spawn, yellow likely to spawn, orange few to spawn, and red rare to spawn. Ekans spawns guaranteed in the swamp biome, very likely in the cave biome, and few in the jungle. So if you go to a swamp biome, 10 times out of 10 you're going to find an Ekans. As long as you keep looking long enough, you'll find an Ekans in a swamp. They are guaranteed to spawn in a swamp and are very likely to spawn in a cave. So if you do go cave diving, just be prepared to be up against some wild Ekans. Now if you go into the jungle, there will be few Ekans, but there may be some of them in the jungle. But again, it is few to rare, so do not count on it. It would be best to go to a cave or a swamp to try and tame Ekans. Similar to Ekans, Arbok spawns very likely in the swamp and cave. So if you do want to find Arboks, they will be most likely to be found in the swamp or cave. They are likely to be found in the jungle, so Arboks are a little bit more easy to find in a jungle, but it's still just likely, not very likely or guaranteed, but you still may find one in the jungle. And of course, they also rarely spawn in deserts. So they may be spawned. Now, the desert spawn is conditional. They only spawn near water. So of course, if there's a river in the desert, that's where you'll be most likely to find them. You won't just find one strolling around in the desert. They'll be usually near a body of water, which does include the beach. So that you may find them on a desert beach or in an oasis area, where that's like a lake in the desert. So if you do go to an oasis, just be wary, because you may find an Arbok, even though it is rare. Alright, and that's going to be the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like if you like, dislike if you don't, subscribe if you like it. Comment down below your thoughts. Everyone have a blessed day as always. And of course, as always, toodaloo.